Miami Hurricanes fans, we got to have a serious conversation about Carson Beck, our quarterback, Carson Beck. I know a whole lot of us are shaky right now, a little concerned, maybe a lot concerned, because the future of our Hurricanes this season basically rests on his right arm. So, before I get into the decision that I believe Carson Beck needs to make that will dictate the rest of his football career, not just college football career, but his football career. Before we get into that, let me jump back into last season. Um, so last season I made some videos, and this is right around the time our season was ending, and people started jumping to the transfer portal. I mentioned that I did not want Carson Beck on our team. And I'm not saying this because I want to be right, because who cares about that? I'm just telling you this because I think it's important for people to have an opinion that's based on facts and based on actual data instead of having an opinion based on emotion and, oh, he sucks because he threw 4 interceptions. I don't like that. Okay. So I'm telling you this information based on data that I've had for years now, and this mindset that I've had based on years of experience. So the reason why I was saying I didn't want Carson Beck on our football team was because I did not know who the real Carson Beck was. I was extremely concerned about that. And y'all have heard me talk about the prove it years. So if you go look at Carson Beck at 2023, um, he threw for almost 4,000 yards. He had a 4-to-1 ratio when it comes to touchdowns and interceptions. Jumped on the scene and killed it. Looked like a first, not if not a first round quarterback, maybe the first quarterback taken, maybe the first overall pick is what some people were thinking. But I'm thinking, okay, that's fine, but I need to see what's called a prove it year. You need to come back and do that again. That way I know that you're about this life. That way I know you didn't just sneak up on people and you didn't perform so well just because people didn't have tape on you. They didn't have film on you, so they couldn't prepare. If you can come back the next year while people are planning against you and have that same type of performance, okay, that's your prove it year. You are that special. But when he came back the next year, he threw 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, almost a 2-to-1 ratio. Not so great. And his yards went from 4,000 down to 3,500. People made the excuse and they said, well, his supporting cast just wasn't so good. They weren't so great. So that's why he didn't play so well. I said, okay, if you want to make that excuse, cool, that's fine. But I'm still not sold on this guy being a first round quarterback, first overall pick, whatever you want to say. I just was not sold on that. Now I'm in a situation. He comes and plays for our Hurricanes. He is a Hurricane now, so I accept him. I'm rooting for the guy, praying and hoping that he does well. But at the same time, in the back of my head and coming out of my mouth in these videos, I've told y'all many times, I don't know which Carson Beck is the real Carson Beck. The first year where he threw for almost 4,000 yards and threw 24 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, is that the real Carson Beck? Or is the real Carson Beck the one who went, who had 500 less yards and then threw 6 more interceptions, doubled his interception total from the year before? Which Carson Beck is the real one? I don't know. So what we saw in this Louisville game almost makes a lot of us believe that maybe the real Carson Beck is the one that we saw in the second year at Georgia. I'm not so sure yet, but kind of starting to lean one way on that. I don't want to talk about which way I'm leaning, but anyway, now let's get to the decision that I'm talking about. This decision that he has to make, it's a simple decision, and it will easily dictate whether he has a Hall of Fame college football quarterback career plus some time in the NFL if he makes a decision going this way, or if he goes the other direction and makes the other choice, he will be a quarterback that had a promising start and failed towards the end and goes undrafted. He has choice A or choice B. So some of y'all are probably thinking, well, what does he have to do to make choice A and what does he have to do to make the choice B decision? It's simple. He has to either decide to be, or I don't know if you would say decide to be, but be willing to be a game manager who's more like Alex Smith was. That's the direction. If he does that, He will end up being a college football quarterback who goes into the College Football Hall of Fame. He will potentially win a national championship this year if he does that. Now, if he wants to be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, where they're so good and they're such a game-changing quarterback that you can put them on just about any team and they do all these flashy, crazy plays and it leads their teams to championships, Super Bowls, and all of that stuff. If he wants to be that guy, his college football career is going to crash and burn, and he will not get into the NFL at all. So that's the bottom line. He either has to decide to be Alex Smith, game manager, and be successful, or he can decide to be Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and crash and burn in college football. It's that simple. What we saw against Louisville, that was Carson Beck attempting to be Patrick Mahomes. That's what that was. It was looking away from the short route that's wide open and trying to throw a deep pass over the top that gets intercepted. It was trying to make the big play instead of just taking your time and walking down the field with a bunch of 5 or 6 yard completions. I talked about this a few weeks ago, and some folks thought it was kind of funny because I said, all you have to do is be Tom Brady. And they're like, you telling this fool all he got to do is be the GOAT? Like, well, what I mean by that is when you go and watch Tom Brady, and I mean, you got to exclude the years that he had Randy Moss. But if you go and look at Tom Brady outside of the years he had Randy Moss, the thing that he specialized in was taking the short routes that the defense gave him consistently. Tom Brady was the king of the 12 to 15 play drive. He was the king of it. He's like, okay, if you're not going to allow us to throw a 15-yard post route, that's totally fine. I'm going to hit Eckler. I'm going to hit all these folks out of the backfield. Like, he's got running backs coming out the backfield. He's throwing the ball to, what was his name, Woodhead? I think Danny Woodhead, throwing the ball out of the backfield to him. He's got all these little dudes. What's his name? Weckler? I can't think of their names right now. I'm drawing a blank on all these folks that played for the Patriots that I used to hate. But like, he would throw all these little short slants, little 5, 3-yard routes all game, and it would just deplete the defense. Eventually, those folks would start pressing up and saying, well, I got to try to do something and keep him from just killing us with 1,000 paper cuts. And then Tom Brady would pump fake you and hit you over the top. He had Tom Brady, what he did more than anything that people don't understand, and what he had more than other quarterbacks is he had far more patience and confidence in his ability than any other quarterback. His patience level was extreme. When you watch Carson Beck against Louisville, he simply ran out of patience and confidence. And when I talk about patience, I mean, if you have the ability to walk up the field in 15 plays by handing the ball off, getting 4 yards, throwing a 5-yard slant, then handing the ball off for a 1-yard first down, and consistently doing that all up the field, you got to have a level of patience and confidence to be able to do that. Most quarterbacks run out of one or the other. They say, okay, we've been on this drive for 8 plays. We got to throw a deep ball real quick just to get us off the field and get a quick touchdown, and then we'll get off and do it again next time. That's when they run out of patience. Some quarterbacks run out of confidence and they say, I don't know if I can do 15 plays, man. I don't know if I can consistently hit these receivers. I don't know if I can throw 10 completions on this one drive and end up getting a touchdown. I don't know if I can possibly do that. So let me see if I can just bail myself and the rest of this offense out by throwing a 50-yard bomb down the field and scoring a touchdown. Patience and confidence. Beck, I don't know if you can develop the confidence, but somehow these coaches have to make sure that he understands he's got to have patience and score these touchdowns on these long drives because that's what our offense calls for. The last thing I want to talk about, quick comparison. I've mentioned this comparison before, and some folks didn't quite understand it, but Carson Beck is Brock Purdy. What do I mean by that? I'm not talking about the Brock Purdy that played at Iowa State. I'm not talking about that dude that just lit up the scoreboard and had crazy yardage all over the place. I'm talking about the San Francisco 49ers Brock Purdy. My brother's favorite team, so I've watched him take pride. I've probably watched every snap of Brock Purdy's career up to this point. It's crazy. So There's two different versions of Brock Purdy, two different versions that live in that little body of his. There's the game manager, that's Alex Smith, who is incredibly successful. But then there's also this Brock Purdy that wants to save the day. He wants to be Josh Allen. He wants to be Lamar. Like, he wants to be all these top quarterbacks. He wants to be Patrick Mahomes. There's two different versions of Brock Purdy. The one that wants to be the game changer is the one that drives Kyle Shanahan crazy. It's the one that has him cussing on the sidelines and going nuts over there. That Brock Purdy is not successful. That Brock Purdy makes the 49ers lose football games. The Brock Purdy that's on schedule, the one who does the play action rollout and then throws it right to the tight end who's wide open, that one goes to the Super Bowl. Lost in the Super Bowl, but he went to the Super Bowl. That's the one who went to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row. The Brock Purdy that gets the ball and throws it to the first person that's open, whether he's 15 yards down the field or just 2 yards down the field, that's the Brock Purdy that wins NFC Championship games. That's the Brock Purdy that is successful. And it's the same situation with Carson Beck. You've got people who are playmakers all over the field. You just got to hit them. Just get the ball in their hands and let them do what they're going to do. Just think about what Tebow used to do. He had Percy Harvin. He had Murphy out there. Get the ball in there. He ain't throwing the ball 50 yards down the field every play. He's not throwing 15-yard post routes between the safeties. Like, Tebow wasn't doing that kind of stuff. He was either he was just taking whatever the defense gave him. Percy Harvin, here, quick little slant. See what you can do after that. I'm going to give you the ball 3 yards down the field. Let's see if you can break a couple tackles and run it down the rest. Like, that's all that they did, and that's all we need Carson Beck to do. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands and let them do the rest. Hit whoever is open. Don't try to force passes down the field. Right now, you've got 11 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. That's not even a 2-to-1 ratio. That's trash. It's not even a 2-to-1 ratio. All we ask is take what the defense is giving you. Don't overdo it. The thing that I tell my staff all the time, whether it's my partners or some of my employees, I tell them, we don't look at things based on what we wish they were. We look at things based on what they actually are. And right now, Carson Beck is a quarterback who has a touchdown to interception ratio less than 2-to-1, which is bad. That's just what you are right now, my man. Like, that's what you are. So if you want to save your career, if you want the opportunity to get into the NFL, you have to be fine with being a game manager on an excellent football team. I believe Carson Beck could go light it up for, I don't know why Jackson State came to mind, but he could go light it up for some school that has no chance of winning too much, or a lower division school. He could go light it up. But what the NFL looks for, I think they're wrong for it, but it's true. What they look for, quarterbacks on good teams who have a high touchdown to interception ratio. Look at Mitchell, just go and look at these quarterbacks who are just okay, but they were on a really good football team. Carson Beck, you are on a really good football team. As long as you keep your composure, get the ball in the hands of the people who are wearing the jersey color that you're wearing, you're going to get drafted. You don't have to show them that you've got a big arm. You don't have to show them that you can hit, you can read, you can move the safety with your eye. You ain't got to show them all that stuff. You don't have to do that anymore. Like, you used to be able to back in the day, but now if you're on a successful team in college football, they were trying to get Penn State's quarterback drafted, and he sucks. Like, they were talking about him being in the draft. He's trash. And I'm like, the only reason why that guy is ranked so high is because he's on a good football team and he's not throwing the ball to the other team. That's the only reason why. He's not doing anything about putting him on his back. He's not running all over the field like Johnny Manziel used to do and hitting somebody that's open. He ain't doing any of that. All he's doing is leading a successful team and not being the cause for them losing football games. If you do that, you will get drafted. Period. So that's all that I got as far as this Carson Beck conversation. I do feel like I need to clarify something real quick. At the beginning of the video, I was saying how at the end of last season, I did not want Carson Beck on our team. That's not my sentiment now. Like, I'm glad to have him. He's much better than what we have. If you ask me, he's much better than what we have on the roster elsewhere. So I'm happy with the fact that he's our quarterback. I do think that he's good enough to lead us to a national championship still. I still believe that. But he's just got to change his mentality. There's going to be more games where the defense is saying, Miami's running game is not going to beat us. I'm not going to let the running game beat us. I'm going to make Carson Beck beat us with his arm. And if that's the case, that's fine. You just got to be patient and you got to be confident. Continue to hit the people who are underneath, and eventually they will bite. And that pump fake that you tried to do against Louisville, it will work later in the game. But if the pump fake doesn't work, don't throw it. Don't force that. Have enough confidence, have enough patience to say, that's cool, he didn't bite this time. I'm going to throw the ball out of bounds, and then the next play, we'll get something going. We'll figure something out. You got to have more patience and more confidence in yourself, my man. I'll leave it at that. Okay. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, I appreciate the support. We're going to continue building this thing one like and one subscription at a time. We've got Stanford. We should kill Stanford. I think we're like favored by 30 points or something crazy like that. So we'll see. Anyway, I'll make another video about, I guess we'll make a video about the head coach and then also about Stanford later on this week. But anyway, thank you. Take care. God bless. Peace.